Thank you all for being here with us tonight. It is such an honor to be here in Mumbai with all of you. My name is Sandra de Castro Buffington, and I'm Director of Hollywood Health and Society, a program of the Norman Lear Center, which is part of the University of Southern California's Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism. I am so pleased to bring together this extraordinary group of panelists for the From Hollywood to Bollywood, How Film and TV Reach Global Audiences on Key Health Topics. This panel is part of a larger endeavor to bring Hollywood scriptwriters and producers to India. We're looking at global health issues in a local context. Our group is spending a week here visiting communities, health clinics, hospitals, and connecting with people so that we can hear their stories. And our goal is really to inspire this wonderful group of colleagues about Indian culture and some of the extraordinary innovative solutions we've seen here to some of the challenging health problems of our time. We're very grateful to have been received so well and so warmly from the people we've met and to hear their stories. Today, there is a growing trend in entertainment to look around the world for information and stories. Writers worldwide are investigating topics with global reach, exploring the ways that different countries and cultures interact and affect one another. Tonight, we have with us some of the top creative talent of India and the United States. These master storytellers are here to speak with you about the ways they portray health topics in entertainment storylines and how entertainment can teach viewers about health. First, we are very fortunate to have with us this evening Sri Ramesh Sippy, who will be making opening remarks. Mr. Sippy is a household name in the film and television industries with a wildly successful career that spans over 50 years. Some of his best-known films include the action-adventure film Sholay, as well as Shan, Shakti, and Sagar. Mr. Sippy also directed the groundbreaking TV series Bunyad, which focused on the India and Pakistan partition. Mr. Sippy is currently a trustee on the board of the Mumbai Academy of Moving Images and serves as the president of the Film and Television Producers Guild of India. Now I'm pleased to invite Sri Ramesh Sippy to share his opening remarks with the group. Mr. Sippy.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I need to say something. I am here because I want to be here. I feel this is something very important. With the world growing smaller, all the telecommunications and everything, it is extremely important that health carries its importance all the way, and people become as aware of the problems and their solutions, possible solutions. Because the problems sometimes come when we don't know about them or can't do anything about them. But if there are things that can really be done about it and we don't know about it, that's sad. So this forum here, these lovely people have been associated with spreading this knowledge about health. And during my career, as I made my films, I often found a certain lack of knowledge, because when I had a situation where I needed information, I found it wasn't all there as I really wanted it to be. So I had to really look hard, meet a lot of people, and find out as much as I could before, because I wanted to be as right as possible. Yes, today we have Google and everything, and you can just go online and get as much information as you like, but it's not the same thing like what is being planned by this by these lovely people here. They are here to help take it forward and help you individually, whether you're a writer or a director making a film, because everyone's aim is very simply that let the world know not only that there is a problem, but there's a solution too, at least a possible solution or something as close to it as possible. I would definitely look upon it as something wonderful to happen to us here, and if it can, it's now called the Hollywood Health and Society. So if it's going to be Bollywood Health and Society as well, to follow up, as Bollywood seems to be following up on everything. So I see it a step in the right direction. But even if we don't get as far as that, or it takes some time to get there, Hollywood Health and Society is there to help us. And I think it is, if the writers and directors get together, they don't have to actually do anything more than what is necessary in their scripts. But once they're aware of something, and there'll always be an opportunity, whether it's in a film or it's on television, for something like this to come up, where you need, through your characters, you can take that information forward. And the beauty of film and television, the dramatic exposure and the intense audience participation in that is what helps to get the message across, to get this information across. If you just stand up and make a documentary, or if you say it in a normal way, call people like this in a hall and tell them these are the problems and these are the solutions, people are, the general audience life's attention span isn't so good. We know that. But we need to get it across to them in a much more interesting way. And film and television offer that medium. I'll be very pleased if more people get involved in this and take it up as a very, very wonderful opportunity to do so. We all need health. We can't go on without it. And I wish it tremendous success. And I would, on my part and on the part of the Film and Television Producers Guild of India, I can definitely say this much, that we are very willing to help as much as we can to spread this word, and we'll be very proud to do so and to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We so appreciate your support and your guiding vision. I'd like to talk a little bit about the union of health and entertainment and the ways that health is impacted by what we see on the screen. So let's see if I can. We're having a little technical difficulty. In a minute, this presentation will come up, I guarantee it. But in the meantime, I'd like to talk a little bit about Hollywood Health and Society and share with you the way we serve as a bridge between the entertainment industry in Hollywood and the public health community. So we know that nearly 2/3 of regular viewers of television report learning something new about a disease or how to prevent it from scripted shows, and nearly 1/3 of those viewers take action on what they've learned. I'm going to start with a quote from my colleague and friend, Dr. Zoanne Clack, who is sitting here on the panel and who I will be introducing in just a moment. But she talks about great stories, powerful characters, and meaningful themes, and that great stories actually communicate simple truths, that they reflect the dimensions of the human soul, that powerful characters help us to understand our lives. Their stories reflect our core values, and meaningful themes universalize the human experience, and they help the audience relate. And so it is these stories that we're talking about today. Hollywood Health and Society harnesses the power of entertainment media to improve health and well-being through storytelling. We've been funded for the last 9 years by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We also have funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the California Endowment, and this whole list of government funding sources. So how do we do this? These are aspects of our model. We start with outreach to the entertainment industry. We do this in 6 different ways, through expert briefings and consultations, and let's start with those. To give you an idea, last year alone, in the span of 12 months, we had 374 inquiries from writers and producers, much like these on the panel tonight, asking us about health topics. They call us and say, we're writing a story about Alzheimer's, and we need access to a medical expert so that we can make the story more compelling by making it more realistic. Now, they're not health educators, and we never suggest what story they should tell, but if they are addressing health, we help them make that accurate. We also do briefings, so if they like, we'll take a medical expert right into the writers' rooms. So with a show like Grey's Anatomy, at times we'll have 20 writers, producers, and executives sitting around a table. And we'll bring in a medical expert who will spend no more than 1 hour, because we won't take more than an hour of their time, briefing them. And basically, the experts tell them stories. They tell them real stories of real people, just like the people we've been meeting in India this week. They also present case studies from the literature. And this gives the creative people ideas, and they take off with it, and the rest is history. We worked last year with 38 different shows in Hollywood across 16 different networks. And this little line at the bottom, for me, is the most important. We confirmed 163 storylines that were aired last year alone that we consulted on to help them make the health content accurate. We also do outreach through panel discussions just like this. We hold them at the Writers Guild of America West in Los Angeles. We get about 100 people in the room, and we present on different topics. So this is just an example. We did a panel discussion on addiction, on global health, another one on organ transplantation called You Want a Piece of Me? And we actually had people who had donated organs, people who had received organs. We had the 2 leading transplant surgeons in the world all on the panel for the writers and producers to inspire them. We also have simple tip sheets. So we have these factual tip sheets on hundreds and hundreds of health topics. And these are all vetted by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And once they're approved, they're posted on the CDC's website, on our website, and they're distributed to writers who are interested. We also have a reel-to-reel newsletter. Everybody in the world has a newsletter, but ours is special. It goes to 800 writers quarterly, and it's very simple. It's 1 page, and on the left column, each one of those little paragraphs is literally 2 sentences. We rip health headlines from the news, and we summarize them in 2 sentences. Now that's enough to get a creative mind engaged. And you'd be surprised at how many of these little tiny stories turn into major storylines on television, reaching millions of people around the world. Another way we do outreach is through an annual Sentinel for Health Awards ceremony. We hold this at the Writers Guild of America West. We get about 35 entries a year. And last year we gave the top drama award to Army Wives for a storyline on diabetes. Primetime minor storyline went to Private Practice, and we have Jennifer Cecil with us, who's a co-executive producer. I'll introduce her more formally in a moment. And they won for a storyline on childhood schizophrenia. The children's programming was Sesame Workshop, and that storyline was about the way the economic downturn impacts children and their families. So this just gives you an idea of the types of, the range of stories that receive awards. We also do outreach to the public, and we do this in 5 ways. So we do it mainly through storylines on television. Just to give you an example, we work very closely with the show House. Does anybody here watch House? Has anybody seen it? I think it's the #1 drama in the world today. And it reaches over 81 million viewers daily. The Bold and the Beautiful is the top soap opera in the world, and it's been going for almost 50 years, and it reaches 300 million people in 100 countries daily. We work with Desperate Housewives, which is the leading comedy right now. It reaches over 56 million viewers around the world daily. So as you can see, if we have accurate health content in one of these storylines, its impact is really hard to measure because it's so vast. Okay, let's take a look at one quick example. We worked with the writers of the show ER, which went off the air last year, but it's going to be on syndicated rerun for the rest of our lives. And Dr. Atul Gawande served as our expert. He is a Harvard-trained surgeon and a full-time staff writer with the New Yorker magazine. And he happens to work with the World Health Organization on this surgical safety checklist. It's a little tiny piece of paper. You can fold it up and put it in your pocket. It can be translated into any language in the world. It takes 2 minutes to use before surgery. And if used before surgery, the research shows it'll cut complications due to surgery by half, by 50%. 2 minutes. Well, he did a phenomenal briefing with these writers. They were so inspired. They were asking him for his autograph at the end of this briefing. And he was laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And let's take a look at the clip that resulted on, it was the third to last episode of ER. Could we turn the lights off, please?
We have a visitor. Now, remember being asked if Dr. Benton could scrub in for this?
I'm a friend of the patient. He asked if I would observe him.
Uh-huh. Put him under. Let's do this.
Whoa. What about the checklist?
Excuse me?
Safe surgery checklist?
I've had 10 cases today, doctor.
All the more reason to take the necessary precautions. It'll only take a minute.
1 minute.
John Carter here for a right cadaveric renal allograft. Correct. Does the patient have a known allergy?
No.
Does anesthesia anticipate a difficult airway?
No.
Is the risk of bleeding greater than 500 cc's?
I sure as hell hope not. Let's go. Put him under.
Whoa. Everybody slow down. Now, let's just take our time and introduce the room.
What's next? We all hold hands and sing Kumbaya?
Sheila Lane, scrub nurse.
Paula Cheney, circulating nurse. Kay Schumacher, anesthesiologist.
Randall Okerman, chief surgical resident. Ethan Dean, surgical intern.
Peter Benton, observing general surgeon. Any concerns from the surgical team?
Almedette, you're wasting my time.
Any nursing concerns?
We don't have any reperfusion solution.
We won't be needing it.
I'll have some sent up.
Were any antibiotics given in the last 60 minutes?
Just starting them now.
10 blade.
Okay, hold on. If you run the antibiotics prior to incision, you cut the risk of infection by half.
Dr. Benton, you're a guest here, and I don't like guests. As a friend of the patient, you're welcome to sit, observe, and shut up. 10 blade. His anastomoses are complete. Releasing the clamps.
Suture lines look good, no leaks.
Vital PDS for the ureter.
Shouldn't it be picking up by now?
What happened to sitting quietly in the corner, Dr. Benton?
No, seriously, shouldn't it be?
Sometimes it takes a minute.
I'll have parenchymal pulse.
You've got an arterial thrombosis. Reclamp and take down the sutures.
Satinsky, please. Where's the clot?
Renal artery is obstructing the blood flow. Gonna have to take it out and start all over again.
Problem solved. Flush with heparin, saline, and reperfusion solution.
Reperfusion solution?
We've got it, we're all set.
Oh, well, it's a good thing we just have some laying around, huh? How long did it take to get the reperfusion solution up from the pharmacy?
15 minutes.
What happens if you don't have the reperfusion solution?
You made your point, doctor?
No, I disagree, doctor. I think that this is an excellent teaching opportunity now. You'd have had 15 minutes of warm ischemia, the organ would have taken a major blow, and there's a good chance we would have ended up with a non-functioning kidney. Wouldn't you agree, doctor?
We're all done teaching here. Perhaps some of you would like to assist me in getting this kidney back into the patient's body.
Where do you get a copy of that checklist?
No, people!
Okay, that's a lot of drama to do behind a surgical mask. You can't see anybody's expression. So as soon as this episode aired, Dr. Atul Gawande texted me. He said that he never believed the surgical checklist would be adopted worldwide until he saw the show on TV. It actually brought tears to my eyes because it gave him hope that it could be adopted. The morning after this episode aired, Atul told me that 150 surgeons gathered in a hospital in New York City. They were forced by the head surgeon to watch the entire hour-long episode because there's a great kidney transplant. I mean, there's another, the kidney transplant in here. And at the end of this hour-long episode, they took a vote and agreed to adopt the checklist for their orthopedics practice. So here we have life imitating art. 3 days later, I got an inquiry from the head of quality assurance and quality control in the country, France. He said he had seen, we got a lot of press coverage on this storyline, and he had seen a report in Canadian news, and he asked us to send him this clip so he could show it at his annual stakeholders meeting. It was later shown in Geneva to all the ministers of health from all over the world. So it's interesting how important art really is. Oh, so I also wanted to say we place web links on these shows' websites. So when there is a significant storyline on TV, we place a web link to a credible source of information so that fans will click on it and visit the sites. And they do. We track the traffic, but I'll talk about that when I mention the research. So I'd like to now show you a small case study, something we call transmedia. So not only do we work with television to help get health storylines, we work with multi-platforms to help viewers navigate across all of these platforms to put their health information together. So this is a storyline on traumatic brain injury on the show Army Wives. Let's take a look at this, and then I'll show you Facebook, Twitter, and the website and how it all came together. Can we have the lights again?
The functional MRI confirms what we suspected, Colonel Burton. You're suffering from traumatic brain injury, most likely sustained during your RPG incident in Iraq.
Dr. Patterson, I dove behind the Humvee when that RPG went off. Now, I caught some shrapnel, but I was mostly protected from the blast.
Not exactly. The energy from that explosion went through the Humvee and through you. It literally rattled your brain.
So that was over 6 months ago. How could I get TBI now?
You didn't. I suspect the symptoms have always been there. You simply didn't notice them or chose to ignore them. We found that some soldiers with TBI can function well in the field in highly routine tasks. It's when they come home and face the challenges of everyday living that the problems more fully emerge.
That's just a very short clip to give you an idea. This was a multi-week story arc, so you can imagine there was a lot of drama involved. Not only did they show the diagnosis, they showed how traumatic brain injury impacts the family, the community, her work, what it took to actually rehabilitate her. It was very powerful. So we put some content on the Army Wives website and placed the diagnosis clip on their webpage so that people could view it over and over again if they were interested. Then we helped them we helped CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, set up a Facebook page on traumatic brain injury, and we linked it to the webpage of the show. We also helped Army Wives develop a Facebook page, and they did a little home video of the lead actor, Joan, this character Joan, talking about what it's like to live as the character with a head injury. We also wrote the tweets, all these tweets on head injury, and the show sent it to their fan base. And Wendy Davis, the actor, sent these tweets on brain injury to her fan base. So, and we had cross-linkages across all of these multi-platforms. And even the CDC, they have a huge Twitter following, linked their Twitterers back to the show and said, look, if you're interested in head injury, you should watch Army Wives. So Army Wives was very happy with us because they got more viewers. So this is what we call transmedia. We also do outreach to policymakers. I have a short clip of an event we did on Capitol Hill last year. We're trying to educate Congress about global health, not just US health, but health around the world. And so we took Dr. Neil Baer, who's the executive producer of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and Mariska Hargitay, who plays Detective Olivia Benson, and a representative of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Sally Canfield, and myself. And this is I guess we don't have the sizzle reel. Well, just trust me, we had this amazing event. We had over 100 people attend. We had 6 offices, congressional offices represented. We were told when we set this up on Capitol Hill, they said, look, you'll be happy to fill half the room, and people will stay 15 minutes and leave, because that's how it is on Capitol Hill. We filled the room, and not one person left for an hour and a half. I think that's the power of storytelling. Okay, research and evaluation. So we actually look at the impact of storytelling on viewers. And there's a whole science behind this, and we do this in many ways. So one way we do it is through the Hollywood Health and Society TV Monitoring Project. So we take the top 20 scripted shows every year for the January to May season. Now you see these blue boxes are the shows that these 3 different ethnic groups share in common. Nielsen Ratings segments the audience into general audience, African American audience, and Hispanic viewers. And these are their top 10 picks. And they share these blue boxes in common. When you collapse them, we end up with about 20 shows each year. Then we train graduate students in how to watch the shows and code for 70 different health topics. And then we can do an analysis each year to see, of all of these top storylines, what are they writing about? What are they portraying? So last year, in 2010, violence, anything related to violence and health, represented 47% of the storylines. I guess that makes sense because, writers to tell a story need conflict to resolve. So there's a lot of violence. You can see some of the other topics: substance abuse, reproductive health, mental health is very popular, heart disease, all of these others. To give you an example of how the monitoring works, in 2009, less than 2%, only 9 storylines addressed global health. The following year, and so we worked really hard on global health. We took a lot of global health experts to meet with writers and producers. Within 1 year, there was an increase of 300% in global health topics. So we got 27 storylines. Now, the next step was to bring all of these amazing writers and producers and directors with us to India, and some of them went with us to South Africa, to really give them direct experience. And for those of you creative people in the audience, I'm sure you know, it's a lot easier to write about something you've experienced directly and that you care about. So we anticipate that by next year, we're going to see another 300% increase, right? We'll see. That's just you. I'd like to show you a bubble tweet. It's part of the transmedia, and if we're online, this will show. It's 30 seconds long. Dr. Neil Baer will tweet to his fan base about an episode that's coming up. And some of you may already use bubble tweets, but if not, this might be interesting for you. And so take a look at, it didn't click. Can you push on that? If we're connected, it should, if you click on the circle. Here it comes. You'll see a little tiny video. There we go.
I went to a party and had a little too much to drink.
He followed me into the bathroom and asked if I was okay.
I always thought rape was something a stranger did, but I knew the guy who raped me. It's okay to cry.
I must have passed out because when I woke up, my panties were missing. And he was taking pictures of me with his cell phone.
All I can do is think, if only I hadn't gone out that night. If only I'd done something different.
That's a bubble tweet. And they're so easy to insert. If you go to Twitter, there's some instructions there, and you can let your fan base know what's coming up. Oops. Okay. Okay, technical difficulty. Can you, let's see. Can you just escape? This is your presentation. Oh, Perfect, thank you. Okay, we could have the lights again, please. So I just wanted to show a little bit more of the research. Neil Baer on Law & Order SVU did a very compelling storyline on rape as a weapon of war in Congo. One of the ways we look at the impact on viewers is we do a pretest a week before the story airs to measure knowledge, attitudes, and behavior toward a topic. And within a week after the story airs, we do a post-test, and we measure the changes of knowledge, attitudes, and behavior. So this shows you there were 4 topics we were interested in that episode: MRSA staph infections, immigration and asylum, sexual violence, and conflict minerals, which actually drive the conflict in Congo. It's not a health topic. But we saw significant knowledge gains. You can see these yellow arrows across all 4 topics among viewers who had just seen a 1-hour show. And then we asked them, would you actually talk to somebody about the global health topics you learned about in the show? We saw a 20% increase among viewers in willingness to talk about something. So this is very powerful. Making something a household word so that people talk about it is a predictor of behavior change. And I'm just going to show one last graph to give you another sense of the type of research we do. If you see the top red arrow, August 13th, this was a storyline on HIV. It was about heterosexual transmission, and it was about reducing stigma among viewers, and it was on The Bold and the Beautiful. This huge peak, we had the lead actor air in a public service announcement, a little advertisement in the middle at a dramatic plot point in the story. And he says, look, if you or anyone you know or love needs information about HIV, call this hotline number. It was the CDC AIDS hotline number. It resulted in the highest peak in callers all year, 5,313 calls in one day. And that's where that top peak is. And then we compared it to all references in the media to that hotline number. Now, 60 Minutes is a very credible news show. The Surgeon General is kind of like our Minister of Health. You know, he talked about it on TV. MTV, we love MTV, but sorry, nothing came close to a minor storyline in The Bold and the Beautiful for motivating people to call and get help. Well, I'm not going to talk about our advisory board now. So we know that entertainment education works, and we know the most powerful element is the entertainment. And that if there's accurate health information, it can save lives and improve health around the world. And so I'm going to close now by saying we have a model that works, and we'd like to share it with you. And if we have a group of partners who come forth and are interested in setting up for India a program like Hollywood Health and Society, it doesn't have to just address health. It can address the environment. It can address human rights, any issue that your society is concerned with. We are happy to share our model. We will actually work hard to contribute funding to it, to help it get up and running. And we hope that you then will be able to inspire your entertainment industry to pay a little more attention to accuracy in health content in television and film. So thank you very much. And now I have the privilege of introducing our extraordinary panelists. And I'm going to go in order. I'm going to start with Dr. Zoanne Clack. She's a writer and the co-executive producer of Grey's Anatomy. Zoanne is the only person I know in Hollywood who is both an executive producer of a leading show, a medical doctor, and has a master's degree in public health. And I don't think you really exist, but here you are. So she has been with the show since it began. Not only does she write and produce, she's also the medical advisor on all medical aspects. And after earning her medical degree, she completed a residency in emergency medicine and then took a fellowship in injury prevention. She's a strong advocate for promoting health issues through entertainment media. Our second panelist is Amole Gupte, and he is fighting the traffic and will be here any minute. He is a painter, a scriptwriter, a filmmaker, and an advocate for theater, cinema, and children's welfare. He wrote the 2000 2007 hit Tare Zameen Par, a critically acclaimed film about a dyslexic child and a nurturing teacher. Walt Disney Home Entertainment released an international edition DVD called Like Stars on Earth, which marked the first purchase of distribution rights for an Indian film by a global company. Amole's second film, Stanley Ka Dabba, will actually be released tomorrow, and we will be privileged to hear from him later tonight about this extraordinary film. Next, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Cecil, who is the co-executive producer of the hit show Private Practice. Originally from Texas, Jennifer moved to Los Angeles to study writing at the University of Southern California. She has spent the last 15 years writing and producing a variety of popular television dramas, including Private Practice, 90210, Brothers and Sisters, and One Tree Hill, among others. Next, we have the esteemed Vinta Nanda. Vinta is the joint COO of Creativeland Pictures. Vinta is a filmmaker, writer, and social activist. Ms. Nanda has written, directed, and produced trailblazing TV shows like Tara, Rahat, and Kabhi Kabhi, among many others. She has also made several documentary films on women's issues and important health topics. Her first feature film, White Noise, won critical acclaim at various film festivals. Vinta is the president of the Village Project India, an NGO committed to supporting Mumbai's fishermen to develop a central seafront in Mumbai and turn it into a hub for music, fashion, and art. Sounds like a place we'd all like to visit. Thank you. Vinta is currently producing 2 TV shows that will air in a few weeks, so stay tuned. Next, I'd like to introduce Michael Nash. Michael is a writer, director, and producer of the multi-award-winning documentary Climate Refugees. Climate Refugees was the only film screened by the United Nations at the 2009 Climate Change Conference in Copenhagen. Climate Refugees had its world premiere at the 2010 Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, and was noted by none other than Robert Redford in the New York Times as an agent for social change. Nash's first feature, the critically acclaimed film Fuel, won top feature film honors around the globe. Currently, Michael has 3 television shows in development. We are delighted to be joined this evening by Onir, a filmmaker. Please. Onir is a filmmaker who has made important contributions to raising awareness about critical health topics through film. His films have dealt with topics such as HIV and AIDS, same-sex relationships, and child abuse. He's best known for his film My Brother Nikhil, one of the first mainstream Hindi films to deal with AIDS and same-sex relationships. In 2006, he released his second film, Bas Ek Pal, which received many accolades. Onir's latest film is I Am, which consists of 4 short films exploring themes such as child abuse and same-sex relationships. So welcome. And next, I'd like to present Karen Tenkhoff. Karen is an executive with Walt Disney Pixar, where she works with John Lasseter. Ms. Tenkhoff spent 7 years as a film producing partner to Robert Redford, where she produced The Horse Whisperer, The Legend of Bagger Vance, and the famous The Motorcycle Diaries. She's also a writer and has sold a screenplay of her own, and her work emphasizes family films and quality storytelling to reach diverse audiences. And last but not least, I'd like to present John Max Burnett III. Fondly known as Max, he started out acting and directing in theater before moving to LA and turning his attention to writing. Max is currently co-creator and executive producer of The Troop, a children's series on Nickelodeon. His pilot script for this series won a Writers Guild of America award. He is also working on a pilot for another series for the Cartoon Network, as well as a feature film script for Mad Chance Films. There are more detailed biographies in your packets. for all of these amazing speakers. So please join me in welcoming our panelists. Thank you. So we're going to start off tonight with a clip that Dr. Zoanne Clack will introduce for us, and then we'll hear from her for about 5 minutes. Zoanne.
Hello, everyone. This is a clip on an episode that I wrote last season. The creator of my show wanted me to do an episode on lectures, because we do obviously a lot of medical lectures in medical school and residency, and our show is about a surgical residency. Are we familiar with Grey's Anatomy? Show of hands? So, it's about a surgical residency, and they do a lot of lectures, and so she wanted me to do that, and I was like, that's entertaining. So I thought I'd just do a whole PowerPoint for an hour, but apparently that was not going to be entertaining enough. So what I decided to do is do a series of flashbacks where we could basically show the evolution of some of our characters and also highlight a lot of interesting medical cases. And what we did was decide on, for each character that was a main character in this episode, each one was supposed to pick out a memorable case. This particular clip is of Richard, who is the chief of surgery on our show, and Ellis Gray, who is a renowned surgeon, and the mother of Meredith Grey, who is the main character, title character of the show. So this is back when they were in 1982, and they were taking care of a patient who had a brand new disease, which we will see here on the clip. You might be able to figure it out.
Testing tissue samples was boring.
Could you turn it up?
But it's how we found out our patient had a fungus called Cryptococcus.
Have you traveled recently to a tropical country like Taiwan or Argentina?
No, I've never even been out of this country.
Do you live near a bird aviary, or are you around a lot of pigeons?
No.
What kind of questions are these?
We asked his girlfriend to step out because we knew we were going to have to ask some pretty uncomfortable questions. We suspected he might have GRID. Does anyone know what GRID is?
AIDS.
That's right. But in 1982, it was known as
gay-related immune deficiency? You think I have sex with men? Are you out of your mind? What kind of doctors are you?
Sir.
You're sick!
Sir, just calm down. We're not passing any judgment. They're just standard questions.
Get this thing out of my arm!
Sir, get back into bed. You still need the antibiotics.
I'll get the antibiotics elsewhere. From real doctors. I did not come here to be insulted. And don't think I won't talk to your superiors about this.
GRID? You accused a patient in my hospital of having a disease that hasn't even been proven to exist? What were you thinking? That patient wasn't even a gay. He's threatening to sue us for slander. Good job. You're on probation.
Your CT showed that your bowel has twisted in on itself, probably because of Kaposi's lesions in your abdomen.
It's a pretty rare problem, but we can take care of it with surgery.
Will Dr. Gracie be doing the surgery?
I'm afraid you're stuck with us.
He's scared, is he? Just like them, outside. I can see them. Pointing, mumbling. It's there.
Screw them.
I don't blame them for being scared. I'm scared too. I used to be scared that people would find out that I was gay. Now I can't even hide it anymore. I'm a leper, an outcast, and untouchable. No one will look at me. No one will touch me. I want to hate everyone for treating me this way. I How can I hate them for being scared when I'm the one that's been living the lie?
This is your chance to change that. Have this surgery. Let us operate.
What's the point? No one recovers from this. No one lives.
For all you know, there could be a cure for this thing tomorrow or next week. Let us operate.
Okay.
Guess you might have figured out that the disease in question was HIV. And my mic is on now. I think my favorite line in that whole thing is the supposition that there could be a cure for this tomorrow or next week. Who knows? We had so much hope. But I think it was very interesting to kind of go back and talk about the attitudes and the evolution of the disease, which is something that I think entertainment gives you a chance to do. And it's why I rationalize being able to save lives on one hand and working TV on the other hand. It also helps to rationalize that for my mother, who could not understand the transition. What I figured out was that in the emergency room, so I'm a trained emergency medicine physician, if I saw 3 or 4 patients an hour, which would be a lot, I might reach, those 3 or 4 patients. They might tell two or 3 friends. I could reach maybe 36, maybe even 200 people if they told 2 or 3 friends. But if I write an episode of television on diabetes, say, I can reach, as Sandra was saying, I could reach, millions of people with one show. So this has given me a good way to integrate all of my different, with the public health, the medicine, and the creative part of me. It's been able to be a very good way to put that out there and have a real global health stance in the world. So I've been really pleased to be able to work with Hollywood Health and Society in any way that I can. So basically for our show, the way we integrate medicine is that we are taking our characters on a journey. Like all of our characters will have an arc for each episode, well, the characters that we're focusing on. So they're going to be learning something throughout the episode, and the way they learn those things is through the medical case most often. And we usually have a theme that we start with. For this particular episode, the theme was outcasts. And it was, for this storyline, we had Richard, who was the only black surgical resident in 1982. We had Ellis, who was the only female surgical resident. And then we had the patient who was trying to pretend like he wasn't gay and living a life as a heterosexual. And then when he got the Kaposi's sarcoma, it was obvious that he was gay and he had to come clean. And on the flip side with the characters, they were also having an affair. They were both married, so they were also living a lie. So in that way, we were able to integrate the journey that the characters were going on, as well as tell a story about the patient and the journey that he was going on. So that's the way we always try to work on our show, is that we have a certain theme, and we either start off with a theme, sometimes we can start off with the medical case, and like if we do a lot of research about what we're going to do. Sometimes we just love a medical case and we try to integrate it, and we try to figure out how the patients, how our characters are going to learn. They're either learning from the patient, from the disease itself, or sometimes it's the way we treat the disease or how the doctors are interacting with the patient and the disease. And the way we get our stories are through, we have a researcher that basically combs every medical thing that comes out, be it in a medical journal, be it in People, be it in Reader's Digest, all kinds, just any place there is a story about a person, a story about a new way of doing things, a story about a new surgical technique, or an old one and how we're changing it. We'll mine those stories. And the way we use Hollywood Health and Society is to, sometimes we'll have these stories, and medical reporters will often not have a baseline medical knowledge. So we'll want to talk to the expert or the exact person who did the procedure. Or sometimes we just have a general disease that we want to do. Like I just did an episode where my patient had sickle cell and was pregnant. And whereas I've treated sickle cell and I've treated pregnancy, I don't treat a lot of them together. So they got us in touch with the sickle cell expert in basically Southern California, who was at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. So through them, we were able to talk directly to these people. And, we found out pages and pages of information from them because we talked to them for like an hour or two, and we only got to put in little bits, but we could scatter it in there. So we were able to, put in little bitty messages, and those just will kind of infiltrate, and hopefully people will kind of learn through osmosis. When they don't know that they're learning, I think is some of the best ways to really get them, because they don't know they've learned it. They're just being entertained. So in this way, I think it's a fantastic way of getting those messages out there. And our main goal is to just take our character. It's all about the character. It's all about telling a story. And when we're talking to these experts, one of our questions is always, as much as possible, to ask them what they feel is important, like what kind of public health issue they really want to get out there. And if we can integrate it in a way that we're not preaching to our audience, or it doesn't just sound didactic, if we can make it fall into the story and just kind of just meld nicely into the story, we will definitely put that in there. Sometimes we don't always get to, sometimes it gets cut for time, and that's not because it's a public health message, it's because we're entertaining people. So a lot of things get cut for time that we love. In writing, you always, those of you who are writers or producers or directors, you know that sometimes you have to kill your baby. Things you love, you just can't put in there for a number of reasons. So it's never because of the medicine, it's often because we just can't fit it in.
I wanted to ask you a question about that. So on Grey's Anatomy, it's a medical show, so you're always talking about health and disease. Have you ever come across a time when you've gotten pushback from the network on something you wanted to do that they wouldn't let you do? And what was that, and why would that happen?
Well, Grey's Anatomy is so successful that we don't get much pushback.
Well, that's an important answer.
Can you think of a specific example?
No, I just know, being in your position as medical advisor on all of the health content, are there times when sort of the dramatic aspect of the storyline will take over and that they'll override your medical wisdom?
Oh, always. My first show was called, I forgot what it's called. I was only on it for 8 months, and so no one would know. Presidio Med. It was on CBS, and that was the first show, the first time I'd ever been on television. It was totally a learn through being there. But my boss we were 2 doctors on staff, and she sat us down on the first day, and she was like, look, we want to be as accurate as possible, because she had come from the ER camp. And we want to be as accurate as possible. We enjoy the medicine. We have 2 doctors here. We're very serious about the medicine. But when worse comes to worse and push comes to shove, the drama will always win. So that was a good lesson for me, because I think a lot of doctors who are trying to get in, and a lot of, I think, consultants who are presenting to us try to make it all about the medicine. And sometimes they'll pitch us stories, and they're like, oh, you could do this, this, and this, and this, and it's all medicine. And we're like, okay, we kind of know where we want to go with this, so please just let us guide it for you, because it's really about the overall arching of things. So oftentimes things get a little bit skewed, things get a little bit off, and I can't be held responsible for that, because I fight like the Dickens. Like there was one particular moment where Meredith drowned for 2 days, and and she was up and extubated within probably 18 hours, and I fought that she would be intubated for a little while, and then maybe the next episode be in the hospital, and then maybe the next episode be up, but the next episode she was up and walking and working, so I try to fight as much as I can. The accuracy gets off on 2 accounts, and I'll stop right after this. The accuracy gets off on what people do, like on her show, which we created Addison's character, and I'm sorry, but she has 18 specialties. She would have had to be 12 when she finished medical school to be all the kind of doctors that she is, and that's partially my fault. And also in timing. We have to compress time for the sake of the drama and for the sake of the show. So things that may take 6 months will sometimes take a day on the show. So, and people will heal very fast. So that's where it kind of gets into a little bit of inaccuracy, but we still keep the medicine and the steps that you need to take correct.
I'd just like to say one small thing. It's so true, but it's so necessary. Because if you lost the drama, you lost the audience. You need to get your message across, you need to get your knowledge across without losing the drama. Otherwise, you won't get it across. That's probably the reason why it happens.
Thank you. That is actually very concise. That should be our motto, because it's the truth. Well, now let's go to Jennifer Cecil. And Jennifer, I know you brought a clip too, and would you like to set it up, or?
I would. Is this on? Yes, it's on. Private Practice, for people who haven't seen it, as Zoanne said, is a spin-off from Grey's Anatomy, so it's also a medical show. But this practice is set in Santa Monica, California, and it's a group of doctors who formed a medical cooperative, and their belief is that patient care is better and it's stronger when you have several doctors working together and other doctors to bounce ideas off of. So there's a pediatrician, there's 2 therapists, there's a gynecologist, there's an in vitro specialist, there's all sorts of people. In the clip that I'm going to show you, there's a doctor named Pete who is an ER doc as well as a holistic Eastern medicine doctor, butts heads with Cooper, who is a pediatrician, over a patient, a 12-year-old girl who they had both seen for treatment of a leukemia, and the leukemia is returning.
Cancer's come back. Her body can't take more chemo. The last 2 times she lost all her hair. Her mouth and tongue were covered in ulcers.
Even after a relapse, Elisa's type of lymphoma is curable.
I believe that, but not with Western medicine.
Chemotherapy is the way to fight this.
There's another way. I'm taking Elisa to a shaman. I know you think I'm crazy, Dr. Friedman, but my only concern is that Elisa get well. We tried Western medicine, it failed.
It kept her alive.
It killed my wife.
Alice died of an aneurysm that ruptured. Nobody could have saved her. And Elisa, she can still be saved.
Poppy, is she okay?
Elisa?
Mika?
Elisa? She needs help.
She's getting help. It's just the bad energy leaving her body.
I'm not getting a pulse.
Leave her alone.
I'm calling an ambulance.
Stop it. Let the shaman finish.
Elisa, stay with me now. Come on.
Elisa is my daughter, and I will decide what medical treatment...
Not if you're incapable of making a responsible decision.
Alternative therapies work, Cooper. I've seen patients cured. With the right combination of homeopathic remedies, Elisa can get the kind of treatment that Diego wants.
Okay, enough. I'm sorry. I don't care what Diego wants. I'm getting a judge to order Elisa's chemo.
No, you can't do that.
Yes, I can. And I will.
Your Honor, what Diego is asking for may seem unconventional, but I've seen it work.
The only guaranteed cure for lymphoma is chemotherapy.
I need to take the family's religious beliefs into account.
Okay, but what kind of father just stands by and doesn't save their child?
Stop it! Please, Dr. Freeman. If I have more chemo, my family won't make it. We're living in a trailer park because of me. My treatments bankrupt us, and Papi had to sell the house. I hear you on the phone begging to keep the power on. I see you skipping meals so the rest of us can eat. Carlos and Pilar, they deserve a life that doesn't revolve around my hospital visits.
And so do you. The shaman will save you.
No, she won't. I'm sorry, Papi. I don't believe what you believe. I'm not afraid. Let the shaman take me to Mama.
The judge ordered the chemo. You didn't have to arrange this.
I know.
I'm just saying.
I'm not completely unreasonable.